The dog led the way to the firehouse, where the guys were sitting out front on folding chairs, boots and suspenders and toothpicks, with the radio already tuned to the game. As soon as George caught sight of her, he jumped to his feet and went and got another chair. After greetings, they all settled in to listen, Charky flopping down at Maggie's feet. A routine, but one she never got tired of. The call came in at a crucial moment. The Dodgers had just tied the game. "Shouldn't be long, Maggie-o," George said as he opened the door on the driver's side of the fire engine and waited while Charky bounded onto the seat. "Doesn't sound like anything serious. You better get that lead and keep it for us." "I will," Maggie promised, stepping to the side of the bay to get out of the way. "Stay cool," she called out as George hopped into the engine's cab. Whenever Dad left the house to go to work, Maggie and Joey-Mick always told him to stay cool. It came from something he often said to them. When things get hot, you gotta stay cool. During Dad's firehouse days, Maggie would get sent home if an emergency call came in. But now she didn't have to leave when the guys went out on a job. "You're in charge," George had said the first time she stayed, which made her feel quite important. She watched until the engine was out of sight, then walked over to the radio at the side of the bay and turned up the volume so she could listen while she worked. George was very strict about keeping the firehouse tidy. He had learned it from Maggie's dad, how keeping the whole place neat and organized could save precious time in an emergency. Most days at the firehouse, when there weren't any calls, the guys spent a lot of time cleaning. Today, Maggie planned to surprise them by sweeping up while they were out. Dad had been a fireman at this station until 3 years ago. One afternoon when Maggie was 6, Mom answered a knock at the door. 2 cops were on the stoop. There had been a fire, and Dad was hurt. They didn't know how bad. Maggie could still remember every detail of the ride to the hospital. The dome light flashing and the siren shrieking and Mom holding her hand tight enough that it hurt. They saw Dad for a few moments before the operation to fix his leg, his face so black with soot that you couldn't tell where the soot ended and his hair and mustache began. And when he smiled at them, his teeth looked the whitest they had ever been. Smiled even though the pain must have been too awful to imagine. And he said, "You weren't none of yous worried, were you?" Maggie had seen the tears tracking down her mother's face as she cleared her throat and answered, "Pish, I couldn't be bothered. I was getting the dinner and it'll be gone cold now, thank you very much." They were clustered around his hospital bed when he woke up from the operation. "Everybody staying cool?" he asked groggily, the first words out of his mouth. Later he told him a little more about what had happened. "I went crashing through the floor, right? And when I got my wits back, I got down low, where the air was a little better, and I started crawling. Every inch I crawled, I tried to think about something cool, Maggie eating ice cream, Joey-Mick hosing down the wagon, your mom at Jones Beach when we were courting." "What's so cool about that?" Joey-Mick asked. Dad winked. "In a bathing suit." "Joseph!" Maggie's mom put one hand to her mouth, half annoyed and half laughing. "Can't help it, Rosie. It's the truth." And staying cool had helped Dad save his own life, and maybe George's and Vince's too. For even with a shattered leg, he managed to crawl as far as the door, where the other guys found him and dragged him out just as the whole roof collapsed. If he hadn't made it to the door on his own, all 3 of them might have died inside. "Some guys would hate it," George had said to Maggie when Dad was reassigned to a desk job. "They couldn't stand being in an office. They'd sort of dry up and shrivel away. But not your pop, 'cause he loves the department, see? Really loves it." Maggie knew without asking that Mom was glad not to have to worry about Dad on the job anymore. But she also knew that he missed being at the firehouse. It was one of the reasons she still went there. "Told ya," George said to Terry. "Told ya she'd get the lead for us." The guys were back. As George had predicted, the call had been an easy one, nothing but smolder by the time they got there. Garbage in an alley had caught fire from a carelessly tossed cigarette butt. The owner of the shop next to the alley had telephoned for help first, and then gone out with a bucket of water and doused the fire himself. The guys had helped clean up the alley and cautioned the shop owner not to let trash pile up like that again. Maggie made a tiny gesture that no one else could see.